Today we're going to talk about organic compounds and the energy that we can get from them. We learned yesterday that everything is made of stuff, and that stuff is molecules, and then molecules can get broken down even farther into atoms. And we want to talk about when we combine those atoms in certain ways and certain atoms get combined, we can call them organic compounds. So let's start with carbon. In its elemental form, it can look really different. It could be graphite in a pencil or coal, or it could be a diamond. These are not compounds because it's just carbon formed and bonded and mixed up in different ways and stuck together in different ways, and it looks different. But it's not a compound, it's just the element carbon. In order to understand chemical formulas, in order to understand organic compounds, we have to understand chemical formulas. So this example is vitamin C. You can see that it's got some letters and some numbers. The letters represent different elements, and the numbers tell us how many there are. We need to remember that some elements are abbreviated with one single capital letter, and other elements are abbreviated with a capital followed by a lowercase, like beryllium and lithium and chlorine. If you see a capital and a lowercase, that's one element. If you see a capital by itself, that's an element. So make sure you don't get confused by things like Cl, which is chlorine, and C, which is carbon. The numbers tell us how many there are, and that's important when we're trying to tell if two things are the same or different. We can count the number of each atom because sometimes things are going to have the same atoms in them. An organic compound is something that contains carbon. So when we're looking at symbols, we're just looking for a capital C. If we see a capital C, then we can probably say yes, it's an organic compound. Organic compounds are probably going to contain other elements. Well, they have to because it's a compound. And these are the ones that they're most likely to contain. Hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and phosphorus. There could be other ones. There could be lots of different ones. But these are the ones that are going to be most common in most organic compounds. We called it in the video the other day CHOMPs, C-H-O-N-P and S. So here's acetaminophen, or what you guys would call Tylenol. It's got some carbon, some hydrogen, some nitrogen, and some oxygen. If something does not contain carbon and is part of the living environment or non-living environment, we call it an inorganic compound. Doesn't contain carbon. This example is rust. It contains the two elements iron and oxygen, and since there's no carbon, it's not organic. Let's try a few. Yep, that's organic. No, that is not organic. That's a Cl, and that's chlorine, so that's not carbon. Yep, it's got a capital C. That's organic. Nope, no carbon. Not organic, so it's inorganic. Right, the Cl is chlorine, that's not organic. Carbon, yep. Sugar, yes, organic. Alright. Proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. They're all organic compounds, and our body can get nutrients from all of them. We need each of these types of nutrients to stay healthy. Our bodies have the ability to break down carbohydrates, fats, and proteins and convert them into a form of energy. We use protein to make new tissues and skin cells and muscles, and we need the fat stuff to make things like cell membranes. So we need fat, but too much of it can be a bad thing. Alright, what happens to these compounds? Well, they get broken down and digested. In your body, when you eat a carbohydrate, it gets broken down into a sugar. This happens pretty fast. Your body can digest carbohydrates quickly and process them to get energy pretty quickly. Fats, on the other hand, get digested really slow, and fats get broken down into lipids or fatty acids. Now, lipids get broken down into fatty acids. We could put lipids in place of fats, but fats and lipids can get broken down into fatty acids. And this takes a long time in the body. Not like forever, but it takes a much longer than carbohydrates. The last one is proteins. And proteins get broken down into amino acids. And this doesn't happen as fast as carbohydrates, and it doesn't happen as slow as fats. It's somewhere in the middle. Each one of these nutrients get broken down by enzymes. So in order to break stuff down, we have to use enzymes, because breaking stuff down is a chemical process. We can take all three of these, break them down, transport the little broken down pieces to the mitochondria, add some oxygen from the respiratory system, travel by the blood into the cells, and we can go through this cool process of making and transforming energy in the mitochondria. So these energy transformations, if we think back to 6th grade, it's things like the batteries in the flashlight have chemical energy, and that chemical energy gets converted to electrical energy. The electrical energy gets converted to light, and some of the light gets turned into heat. So these are the ways that energy gets transformed. Well, this is important because our body is able to transform the things we eat into small little chemical energy forms, and we can convert them and make things like thermal energy to keep ourselves warm, or send electrical signals from our brain through our muscles, or help us move. So we need the energy in order to move, and our digestive system breaks down the thing we eat so that we can get some energy.